If the opposing lawyer and I have worked together on prior cases, and now he happens to be the same lawyer on your case, is it going to help or is it going to hurt your particular case? You want to know the answer? Come join me for a walk around the neighborhood as I share with you the answer to that question. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. The answer is, it depends. Now, what does it depend upon? It depends on whether we have a good working relationship. If the opposing lawyer was a jerk, was an idiot, was obnoxious, if he was nasty, and now we have a bad history together, is it going to affect your particular case? Well, the short answer is, in the short term, it will, and I'll tell you how. Because attorneys have to work together. We have to work on scheduling. We have to work on certain things during the course of the discovery process where, despite our differences, despite our past history, we are required to work together to accommodate and to set up schedules of when things must be done in your particular case. During the course of your lawsuit, there will be an opportunity for the opposing lawyer to question you in a process known as a deposition, which is a question and answer session that's given under oath. Typically now it's done on a Zoom video call where I am present, the opposing lawyer is present, and you are there to answer questions that you are asked by the defense lawyer. Your answers represent your sworn testimony. So now, would it make a difference, and is it going to make a difference if we have a bad history? The short answer is yes, it might, because now during the course of the deposition, it might become quite clear that the opposing attorney and I do not get along. It might be quite clear that we have significant differences in opinions about what questions can be asked and what answers can or should not be answered. In that instance, that's going to overflow and you're going to hear it. And now it's going to possibly affect you. So you will recognize immediately whether or not that bad history still exists. But you should know something else. In New York, despite differences between the attorneys, lawyers are actually required to be civil to each other. We are required to work together, and the important point and the key word is civil to each other. We don't have to like each other, we don't have to respect each other, but we have to be civil to each other. If we are not, either one of us or both of us could be fined and sanctioned by the court. And neither one of us wants to have that happen. So, despite the fact that we might have significant differences, we might have significant, very strong opposing opinions about your particular case, in the short run and during the course of a deposition, it might become clear-cut that we clearly don't like each other. It might become clear-cut that we hate each other's guts. Now, the fact is, we still have to be civil to each other. In the long run, should not make any difference to you and the merits of your case. The defense lawyer, despite the fact that I may not get along with him, still has an obligation to represent his client to the best of his ability. And now he still has an obligation to go ahead and present both sides of the case to his insurance carrier so that they can make an accurate assessment of whether or not there's liability here, of whether or not we're able to show that we are more likely right than wrong than what we are claiming is true, and whether or not you, the injured patient, the injured victim, have significant damages. All of those things are not going to be affected by the opposing attorney's opinion of how we get along. So that will not make a difference. Now, let's turn it around. Let's say, however, that I do have a great working relationship with this other attorney. Say I think my opponent is a stand-up guy. I think he's an excellent attorney. I think he's 100% trustworthy. That doesn't mean he's going to bend over backwards to help you or I one bit. I know he's still going to do everything possible to defend his client as best he possibly can. And he's going to do everything possible to try and get your case thrown out before we ever get to trial. That's what a good attorney, a good defense attorney, will try and do. But if I have a good working history with my opponent, with the opposing counsel, it makes things a lot more pleasant during the course of the litigation for us as the attorneys. And when you are questioned, and when his witnesses are questioned, it makes it a lot more pleasant for everybody involved. So to answer the original question I raised in this video, will it make a difference if there's a history between the opposing attorney or attorneys and myself? The short answer is it might in the short term, only because we have to deal with discovery, we have to deal with depositions, And the key word is we are required to be civil to each other. We don't have to like each other, we don't have to respect each other, but we still have to be polite, professional, and importantly, what's the word? Civil. If we're not, either one of us or both of us could be fined and sanctioned. Is it much more pleasant, much more enjoyable when I have an attorney on the other side where I've worked with for many, many cases before and found them to be totally professional? Absolutely. It is much nicer and easier to deal with an attorney like that. And in that instance, it's much easier to have conversations about possible settlement down the road when it's time and we're ready to go ahead and start talking about possible settlement. So there is a slight distinction and there is a slight advantage to going ahead and finding an experienced attorney who does have that working relationship. But it doesn't always happen. So why do I share this quick information with you? I share it with you just to open your eyes to what really goes on behind the scenes in these medical malpractice cases, these accident cases, these wrongful death cases here in New York. You know, I recognize you likely wanted to join me today on a beautiful day here in Great Neck as I walk around the neighborhood. No, I realize you'd likely have questions about your matter. Well, if you have not yet started a lawsuit and your matter did happen in New York and you still have questions that need to be answered, what I invite you to do is pick up the phone and call me. You know, I answer questions like yours every single day and I'd love to chat with you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. Well, that's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day.